Hello again. So, the hour draws late, but I did promise a video continuing with what Chaos Magic means to me and why I'm getting into it now. So, when I was in my 20s, as I mentioned, in Redbridge Library, I found some books about magic and the occult, and Chaos Magic was described within them. And it got my interest. I was interested in sigilization. I liked and still like the process of drawing up an intent and creating this weird combination of art and drawing and language, charging it up through Gnosis, and stuff happens. I like the idea. Also, the Gnostic side of Chaos Magic, the meditation side, the thought exercises that it requires, also appeal to me. Although I've never had any particular interest in magic or the occult except for Chaos Magic, it's literally the only flavour of magic which has appealed to me. The process of meditation, that I do know a little bit about. Emphasis on a little, but I was actually lucky enough to get some lessons in meditation from various people over the years, so I do know how to shut your eyes and control my breathing and let my mind go to a blank resting place, a slightly different place of consciousness. So, with that in mind, some of the exercises involved in Chaos Magic, especially with visualization, because it's probably just a freakishness on my part, but I often find that sometimes things that I see as I just go about my daily life get burnt into my brain quite strongly as various images. For example, there was a shop in South Woodford when I was a kid which had a sign on the back advertising for plastic cement. For some reason, a picture of that shop and that sign, ever since I saw it as a kid, has been locked up in here somewhere, and that and various other images from stuff I've seen over the years occasionally flicks into my brain and out again just as quickly. So the idea of visualization as a thought exercise made a lot of sense to me. It appealed to me. So that was another part of the appeal of Chaos Magic. And I also liked the idea of experimenting with your own mind, of putting yourself into different ways of thinking and possibly adding or subtracting bits and pieces to your own mind as and when needed. It's something that I like the sound of and something which I think could be useful to me. And also, I am a bit of an Austin Spare fanboy. I very much like his art, and obviously, given my fondness for sigilization, he was the father of sigilization, and some of his work in that was just visually stunning. I like his writing, although I would be the first to admit that it's a struggle for me to get through sometimes. He used a lot of very, very dense, very metaphor-heavy language, which you gotta plough through. It takes some concentration. And lastly, as a person, he seemed cool to me. Spare was described by everyone who met him as being a kind and down-to-earth person. He lived quietly as an artist. He never made a huge amount of money from his work and was often in poverty. He just got on with things, and there is also a myth, which seems to have been at least partly propagated by Speer himself, that on the eve of World War II he was sending hate mail to Hitler. I don't know if that's true, but I desperately want it to be true. I just love that story. So yeah, we have Austin Speer, the nice guy of occultism, and especially in comparison with Aleister Crowley, I am the great beast, 666, hookers and cocaine. Just offended a lot of people, but so be it. Out of those two early 20th century figures in Magick and the Occult, Speer is the one who I gravitate to every time. So, the final thing about what drew me to Chaos Magic, and this is very nerdy, I'm into Warhammer, and in my brain I made a connection to some Warhammer characters, the gods of chaos. So, what can I say? I'm lame. Now, I initially did actually try my hand at sigilization, and because I didn't know much about what I was doing, it was very much a botch job. I was short of cash at the time, and I tried to draw up a sigil and create a ritual to try and get a bit more money quickly. So, at work, I really threw myself into what I was doing with my whole heart and mind, because I thought if I was going to write a spell about magic, which is associated with magic, if I was going to do a spell to try and get some more money, which is of course associated with commerce, then to throw myself into work and the stuff you have to do to get money would probably put me in a good state of mind to do it. So I drew up my intent, which, if I remember rightly, was I want to get some money by the end of the week. In my lunch break, I sneaked off into the bathroom, charged up the sigil and then destroyed it, and it seemed to work. By the end of that week, I did get some more money from an unexpected source, but it was so random and strange that it actually worried me a little bit. What happened was a car which I had bought with two friends previously. We all put some money in and bought this beat up old Micra because it seemed like a good idea at the time. That car was sold that week. I got a message from my friend Pablo saying we got a buyer for that Micra a day after working that ritual. So we met this couple in Leytonstone car park, which is where all dreadful things go down, Leytonstone McDonald's. We sold the car and we did make a bit of a profit on it, so I got my share back plus about 40 quid. It seemed a lot of money to me at the time. It was certainly enough to get me through that week, but I don't know what I had been expecting to happen from that sigil, but it certainly wasn't something so out of left field. And I thought, if this is so unpredictable, maybe I shouldn't be doing it anymore. If this goes wrong, it could be bad. So I stopped. I continued to read about chaos magic now and then, and last year I managed to find a website which had some of Speer's work on it available. So I have actually read some of Speer's work now, the Book of Pleasure and what's it called? The Zoetic Grimoire of Zos. So basically I got scared off chaos magic a little bit, but I never entirely gave up on the idea either. It's always been floating about in the back of my head. what prompted me to get back into it this week was just a random notion, really. I was on my way home from a meeting and I randomly got it into my head to look up the awful invocation of Tzeentch, which, speaking of Chaos Magic and Warhammer, is a Chaos Magic ritual which someone put online describing the methodology of calling upon Tzeentch, the chaos god of magic, deceit and ambition. Why anyone would choose that particular character to invoke, I don't know. It's not a nice character, but they did it. The ritual is online. It can be found on chaosmatrix.org. I cannot credit the writer because their name doesn't seem to appear on the article, but someone out there did this. As I was reading through that article, I got the idea in my head to see if I could get hold of a copy of Libernol and Psychonaut, and I did. And immediately I just thought, it's now. Now is the time. I cannot say why I felt so strongly that it should be now, but I did. I think that this is the time to go into that book, start studying it and going through the exercises it describes and see what happens. So, based on what I've been studying, what does Chaos Magic mean to me at this exact moment in time? It means improving my mind. I mentioned in an earlier video that I think I'm already seeing some benefits from what I'm doing in terms of being in a calmer mood, in being a little bit more structured with my thinking, and generally being better at getting things done. That's very much still the case, and I think that as I continue with these exercises into motionlessness, I have a sense of a process which I have started to undergo. I'm not sure where that process is going to lead, but at this point I want to pursue Chaos Magic for its own sake. I don't particularly care if the magic itself is real or not. The mental disciplines that one has to develop to get to the next stage most definitely are real. We can all use various thought exercises to declutter and focus our brains a little bit. That is most definitely not in the realms of supernatural. And I've identified Chaos Magic as something which helps me with that. It is for me at this point, the Libernol is almost a self-help book. In fact, that's exactly what it is. A weirder, creepier version than most, but that's why I'm doing this. That's what I hope to get out of it. I want to streamline my mind. And it's working. I think that even the process of studying and practicing motionlessness and doing these videos is helping me, because it's forcing me to think in a more structured way than normal. For example, today I knew that I wanted to do a motionlessness exercise and record it. It may or may not get put up on this channel. It's probably quite boring to watch, but it's there should anyone want it. I knew that I had to do that. I knew that I had to transcribe my Magick journal thus far, my written Magick journal, from my memos on my phone onto an actual pad of paper. That has now been done. And I knew that I wanted to do some reading into Chaos Magick, because I haven't done enough reading for pleasure for a long time and I need to get back into it. So I've been reading some more of the Liber Null, going ahead of the syllabus, not to practice, just to learn. And I've also started reading a little bit of another major early work in Chaos Magick, Ray Sherwin's The Book of Results. That's a much shorter book, so I hope to get through it in a day or two. And as I was doing all of this, I had to structure my day around it. I knew I had to do some housework. I knew that I had to do some work on my finances. And I've been better than usual, getting this kind of stuff done in good time, because I knew it had to be got out of the way before I could go back to this. A long rambling way of saying, it seems to be helping me focus and organise my life. Looking to the future with this and what I would like to do with it, I am going to try sigilization again at some point, but it won't be for a while yet. I want to continue with my motionlessness exercises until I can get up to that 15-minute mark. I've done it with my eyes closed, but I feel as if I should be able to do it with my eyes open. We'll see. So yes, I want to do some sigilization work, but also I want to do more visualization work. I have mentioned that shop in South Woodford that I carry around in my head. There's a few other images which I picked up over the years, which I would like to explore in here, see if I can sum them up and focus on them and then put them away. And well, no, there is no end. I think that's about as precise a statement of intent as I can make at this point. That's what I'm trying to do here. And with that, I suppose this video is over. I kind of feel as if I should be speaking more, but I'm not sure what it would be about, so I'm gonna end this for now. If I continue posting over the next few weeks, it is going to be just reflections of my motionlessness training and my reading on the subject. If people want, I will put up more films of me doing motionlessness exercises, although I can't imagine why anyone would want to see that. It's literally just 15 minutes of that. Yeah, I'm rather conscious that I'm starting to ramble, so I'm going to draw this to a close here. Good night.